The first rays of sunlight gently seep through the cracks of the stone walls, casting a soft glow on the rustic surroundings. You awaken slowly, disoriented at first, the unfamiliarity of your surroundings starting to register. The bed beneath you is rough, made of straw and animal skins, offering little comfort compared to the soft, modern mattresses you once knew. The faint sound of the wind rustles through the gaps in the walls, and the scent of burning wood drifts into the room, reminding you of the hearth that keeps the chill at bay. As your eyes adjust to the dim morning light, you sit up, feeling the weight of the stone beneath your hands. You feel the hardness of the earth through the rough fabric of your clothes and the steady pull of the morning call to action. The village outside is still, its stillness broken only by the occasional crow of a rooster and the faint murmuring of other villagers as they begin to stir. The world seems ancient, removed from the present time, as though you have slipped into another reality. A time long ago, where the earth was the heart of everything. You stand and walk to the small window, looking out onto the village. The path is cobbled and worn, the air fresh but filled with the scent of the earth, mud, hay, and wood. The sight before you is simple, almost peaceful, thatched roofs and small homes clustered together, with the faint glow of morning light beginning to stretch across the land. The people of this world are not in a hurry. Their lives are shaped by the natural world that surrounds them, each task a part of the larger rhythm of survival. The first sounds of the day are subtle, the low clanking of a blacksmith's hammer, striking metal in a steady, rhythmic pattern. The faint murmur of voices rises from the market as the first vendors set up, laying out fresh produce and goods for sale. You hear the steady moo of cows being milked in the distance and the soft cluck of chickens scratching at the dirt for their morning meal. These sounds fill the air, soothing in their predictability, offering a glimpse of the simple, often unnoticed world that exists beyond the walls of your small cottage. You begin to prepare for the day ahead, pulling on your simple tunic, rough from years of wear, and stepping out into the early morning light. The air is cool on your skin, but soon the warmth of the sun will spread across the land, bringing with it the energy for another long day of labor. Your hands are already familiar with the tasks that lie ahead, feeding the animals, preparing the fields, and performing the chores that ensure survival for your family. There is no rush in the morning, just the quiet sense that everything will fall into its place as the day unfolds. Outside, the village begins to wake up around you. Villagers nod as they pass, their faces familiar, their expressions marked by the same resilience and weariness that you carry in your own. This is your world, a world that moves to the rhythm of the earth, where time is measured by the rise and fall of the sun, and life is marked by the cycles of the seasons. The simplicity of this life can be overwhelming at times, but it is also comforting. There is a rhythm to it, a sense of order that gives meaning to each day, each task, and each interaction. As you move towards the fields, the distant hills are bathed in golden light, and the sound of birds singing fills the air. The world is vast and full of life, and yet it feels small and intimate in these moments. The land stretches out before you, a canvas of green and brown, waiting for your labor. The quiet hum of nature wraps around you, the wind whispering through the trees, the scent of fresh grass filling your senses. The work ahead will be hard, but it will be familiar, comforting in its rhythm. The village, with its simple routines, offers a sense of peace, and in that peace, you find your place in the world. The day unfolds slowly, each moment woven into the steady rhythm of the medieval world. The sun climbs higher, its warmth gently spreading across the land, bringing life to the earth. As you walk across the cobbled streets, the morning air, filled with the scent of earth and freshly baked bread, wraps around you. The familiar sounds of the village grow louder as the day takes shape. The soft murmur of voices, the steady beat of the blacksmith's hammer, and the calls of merchants peddling their wares. It's a world where everything has its place, its time, and its purpose. You head towards the stables, where the animals have already begun to stir. The soft bleating of sheep fills the air, and you see the horses grazing nearby, their breath rising in small clouds in the cool morning air. The rhythmic sounds of hooves and the clinking of harnesses create a peaceful, almost hypnotic atmosphere. You begin your work, feeding the animals and tending to them with practiced ease. Each movement is deliberate, ingrained in your muscle memory. It is a life of repetition, but there is a strange comfort in that repetition. Every task has its purpose, and every act of labor is essential for survival. The fields are next, and you make your way across the well-trodden path, leading out of the village and into the countryside. The land stretches out before you, covered in rows of crops, the golden wheat swaying gently in the breeze. You take a moment to pause, looking out over the land you've worked for years. The sense of connection to the earth is deep, and as your eyes sweep across the fields, you feel a quiet pride in the harvest that you have tended. It is not just the work of one person, but the combined effort of the village. Together, you make the land yield its bounty. Without your labor, the village couldn't survive, and that knowledge brings a sense of purpose to every task. As you move between the rows, the work is steady and unrelenting. You pull at the weeds, tend to the plants, and make sure the soil is properly prepared. The sun beats down on your back, and sweat trickles down your brow, but there is no hurry. The work is slow, methodical, and soothing. You are in tune with the land, and the land is in tune with you. There is no rush, no need to hurry. Everything moves at its own pace, and in that pace there is peace. The land will provide, but only if it is tended with care, and you know that the work you do today will pay off tomorrow. Around you, the village continues its routine. The blacksmith's hammer rings out in the distance. The sound of children's laughter echoes from the village square, and the merchants begin to pack up their carts, having made their morning sales. The world moves, but it moves at its own pace, a pace that seems unhurried and steady, like the pulse of the earth itself. There is something comforting in this, knowing that though the days pass and seasons change, life remains anchored in these simple rhythms. In a world that feels so large and uncertain, there is a steady calm in the cycle of daily life. As the day continues, the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across the land. The heat of the afternoon fades, and the coolness of evening begins to settle in. The pace of the village slows, and people begin to return to their homes, their tasks for the day coming to an end. You too head back to your cottage, your steps slow and deliberate as the familiar sights of the village come into view. The sound of children playing fades into the distance, and the soft clink of tools being put away fills the air. The day has been long, but it has been full of purpose. The work is never truly finished, but for now it is enough. The quiet hum of evening settles over the village as the light fades from the sky. The stars begin to twinkle, one by one, as the night takes hold. The village grows quieter, and the world seems to slow, as if taking a breath before the dawn of another day. The simplicity of it all, the steady rhythm of work, the cycles of the seasons, the unbroken flow of life, gives you a sense of peace. It is a life grounded in the earth, in the community, and in the knowledge that every day is a small part of something much larger than yourself. As you enter your home, the warmth of the fire welcomes you. The scent of the evening meal fills the room, and the faces of your family greet you with smiles. The day is done, and tomorrow will bring its own set of challenges. But for now, there is comfort in the present, comfort in knowing that the work will continue, the seasons will change, and the world will keep turning, just as it always has. As the day begins to fade, your mind drifts, reflecting on the events of the day, but also on something more distant. As the village rests, your thoughts wander to a story of ambition, change, and the unexpected turns of life. A young boy named William, born in the very fields where you labor, lived a life much like yours. He too grew up in the rhythms of the land, the cycles of nature, and the simple life of a peasant. But something about William was different. His heart was filled with a longing for something more, something beyond the borders of the village, beyond the fields of green and the humble stone cottages. He dreamed of power, of a world beyond the narrow confines of his birth. Though he was just a peasant boy, his eyes were always set on the horizon. He spent his days helping his family in the fields, but his nights were filled with thoughts of something grander. He would listen intently to the stories told by the traveling merchants, the tales of distant lands and kings who commanded vast armies. William was different from the other children in the village. While they played with wooden swords and ran through the fields, his mind would wander to the stories of knights, lords, and kingdoms. He would dream of castles, of a life where he was not bound by the land or the lord who ruled over it. As William grew, his ambition only deepened. The quiet, simple life that surrounded him no longer satisfied him. He would watch the knights ride through the village, their armor gleaming in the sun, their horses prancing proudly. He could feel the desire stirring within him, a yearning to rise above his station, to stand among the powerful and the noble. And so he began to plan, to dream, to take small steps that would eventually lead him down a path very different from the one that fate had originally set before him. There were few who could see the potential in the young boy, but there was one man who noticed, an old knight who had retired from battle and had taken to teaching the village children. This knight, a man of great wisdom and skill, saw something in William that others had overlooked. It was not just the strength in his arms or the fire in his eyes, but something deeper, an innate leadership, a spark of ambition that could not be quelled by the boundaries of his peasant birth. The knight took William under his wing, teaching him the ways of the sword, the art of strategy, and the complex world of politics and power. William's training was intense, and his mind was sharp. He learned quickly, and it became clear that his ambitions were not merely child's dreams, but the foundation of something much greater. As the years passed, William's stature grew, not just in physical size, but in influence. He started to gain the respect of those around him, his actions and his words carrying weight beyond what would be expected of a common peasant. Yet, despite his growing abilities, the pull of his origins remained. He was still a peasant in the eyes of many, still bound to the land, still beholden to the lord who controlled the village and its people. But the fire within him burned brighter with each passing day, and he knew that his place in the world would not remain as it was. He would not remain a peasant. His heart, full of ambition, longed for more. In the dead of night, as the village slept, William would look up at the stars, his thoughts wandering beyond the fields, beyond the limitations of his life. The stars seemed to whisper of a greater destiny, a future where he would rise to power, where he would lead a kingdom. These dreams, once small and hidden in the recesses of his mind, now consumed him. They were no longer just dreams, they were his future. And so, as the first light of dawn would break over the village, William would rise earlier than the others, ready to begin his journey toward greatness. The work in the fields, the chores of the day, would continue, but in the back of his mind, William always carried with him the knowledge that his life was destined for more. The world, once a place of limitations, was now a land of opportunity. And though the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, William's ambition was stronger than any obstacle. The life he dreamed of power, of kingship, was within his grasp. As time continues its relentless march forward, the tension within William begins to mount. His ambitions, once whispers in the dark, now speak louder in the quiet hours of the night. His training has sharpened his skills, but it is the desire for more, something greater, that pushes him. He is no longer content simply dreaming of a better life. His thoughts, once fixated on survival and labor, have turned toward the broader world, a world of power, of rule, of conquest. It is a world beyond the village, beyond the land that ties him down, and into a realm where he can command armies and influence kings. William knows that he must act. The lord of the village, who holds power over the lands, remains unaware of William's growing ambitions. He has always seen William as a mere peasant, someone toiling away in the fields, working the land for a meager existence. But William's aspirations cannot be contained by the Lord's narrow view. There is more to him than the humble life he's known, and with every passing day, the weight of his desires becomes heavier. The night grows deeper, and William's mind becomes consumed with the image of the throne. His thoughts are no longer just about survival, but about seizing what is rightfully his. The power, the authority, the strength to change the world around him. He knows that to claim the throne, he must do more than simply work the land. He must rise above, outmaneuvering those who stand in his way. William begins to seek allies, men and women who can help him secure his claim, and he starts building connections with those outside the village, traders, knights, and other nobles who have the power and influence to help him achieve his goals. He learns quickly, navigating the complex world of politics, where every word, every gesture holds weight. His ambition drives him to be bold, to take risks, and to test his limits. He attends gatherings in the nearby cities, observing the power plays of nobles and the shifting allegiances of the court. The more he learns, the more determined he becomes. He realizes that in order to take control of his destiny, he must first understand how the world of power works. He watches the ways of the nobles, how they use their wealth, their land, their influence, and begins to plot his own rise. It is during these quiet moments of observation that William realizes the true cost of ambition. To become a king, to rule a nation, is not a path of glory alone. It is a path paved with blood and sacrifice, a path where trust is a rare commodity and betrayal is ever present. William is no stranger to hard work, but the ambition that now drives him requires something more: the willingness to outwit and outlast every obstacle in his path. The day comes when William makes his first major move. With the help of a small but loyal group of allies, he challenges the existing order of power in his region. The local lord, caught off guard by William's sudden ambition, does not realize the true threat until it is almost too late. William's actions are calculated, his moves deliberate, but even he is not prepared for the speed with which his world begins to change. The village that once seemed small and insignificant becomes the stage for something much larger. William, now a man with a clear purpose, is no longer just a peasant. He is a force, a storm rising on the horizon, and he is determined to claim what he believes is his destiny. The clash between William and the Lord's forces is inevitable. The battle that ensues is not just one of weapons, but of ideals, of ambitions, of power and control. William fights with everything he has learned, his mind sharp, his body swift. His opponents underestimate him, thinking him just another farmer with dreams of grandeur. But they are mistaken. William is no mere peasant. He is a man forged by ambition, and he will not be deterred. As the conflict builds, the world around William shifts. The village, once a place of simplicity, now becomes a battleground for a much much larger struggle. William's future is uncertain, but there is no turning back now. His rise to power is no longer a dream. It is an inevitability. And as the battle rages on, William feels the weight of his ambition settle in his chest. This is the moment that will define him, the moment where everything he has worked for will either come to fruition or collapse in the face of failure. As the days stretch into weeks, and the weeks turn into months, William's resolve hardens. The battle that once seemed a distant dream is now at his doorstep. The Lord's forces have gathered, but William, fueled by his vision and his ambition, is no longer afraid. The time for subtlety has passed. His plan is set into motion. His allies are ready, the pieces of his puzzle clicking into place, and William steps forward, confident in his destiny. The small village that had once felt so confined now feels like the center of the world, its fate tied to his actions. The night before the battle, William finds himself standing at the edge of the village, looking out over the land he has worked his whole life to escape. The air is still. The only sound is the rustling of the trees in the distance, the gentle whisper of the wind. In this moment of solitude, he reflects on everything that has brought him. The years of hard work, the quiet whispers of discontent, and the unshakable belief that he was meant for something greater. He is no longer the boy who watched the nights from afar, yearning for power. He has become the force that will reshape this land. The sun rises the next morning with a quiet intensity, casting long shadows across the battlefield. The earth feels different today, charged with the anticipation of what is to come. As William looks out over the scene, he can feel the weight of his choices pressing down. This battle will not just decide the fate of the Lord and his men, it will decide his own future. The sound of marching feet fills the air as William's army moves into position. There is no turning back. The battle is fierce, the air thick with the sound of clashing swords, the cries of soldiers, and the thundering hooves of war horses. William fights with a ferocity and determination that surprises even him. His every movement is calculated, precise, driven by a single goal: victory. The weight of the sword in his hand is heavy, but it feels right. The weight of the crown, the power that comes with it, feels almost within his grasp. He knows that to win this battle means more than just conquering land. It means conquering his own destiny. The Lord's forces are powerful, but they are disorganized, caught off guard by William's tactical brilliance and the strength of his resolve. One by one, his enemies fall before him. His men, once peasants like him, fight with a passion they have never known. They fight not just for survival, but for the vision William has instilled in them. The vision of a life beyond their current station, of a life where they too can rise above the constraints of their birth. The battle rages on, but the tide has turned. The victory is within reach. As the final blow is struck and the dust settles, William stands victorious. His heart pounds in his chest, not from the exertion of the battle, but from the realization of what he has accomplished. The battlefield, once a place of chaos and destruction, now feels silent, almost sacred. The sounds of war have faded, and in their place is the quiet hum of triumph. William's hands shake slightly as he looks around at the men who fought with him. Men who, like him, have risen from the land to claim something greater. They are no longer just peasants. They are victors. In the aftermath, as the survivors tend to the wounded and the fallen, William stands over the battlefield, contemplating the future that lies ahead. The Lord's body is brought before him, a symbol of the power that has now shifted. William knows that his rise is not just the result of force, it is the result of vision, of the belief that change is possible, that even the humblest man can become a ruler if he dares to challenge the world around him. The crown is not yet his, but the throne is now within reach. The journey has only just begun. As the dust settles on the battlefield and the silence stretches over the land, William stands victorious, his heart pounding with both exhilaration and uncertainty. The weight of his ambition has come to fruition, but in the aftermath of the battle, a deep sense of reflection begins to take root in him. The land before him is no longer just a patch of earth he worked on as a boy. It is the beginning of a new chapter, not only for him, but for everyone who has followed him. The victory has been hard won, but the true test of his reign is only beginning. As the days pass, William moves from the battlefield to the castle, where he is greeted not only by his men, but by the remnants of the old system, the nobility, the people who once controlled everything. They look at him not as a conqueror, but as the man who will be their new ruler. There are murmurs in the court, whispers of doubt and fear, and William feels the weight of these eyes upon him. But he has come this far. He knows that the future will not be shaped by the old ways of the world, and that he must lead by his own vision. The land that he once dreamed of ruling is now his to command, but power comes with its own set of trials. As William takes his place on the throne, the castle's stone walls feel colder than ever. The once imposing structures now feel empty to him, devoid of the life and warmth he had imagined they would have. He realizes that the pursuit of power, while intoxicating, has left him with more questions than answers. What does it mean to rule? What is the true legacy of a king? And in the midst of all this, he begins to wonder whether the things he fought for, the throne, the wealth, the land, were truly what he needed to find peace. The days slip by, and William's reign is marked by decisions, both big and small. He sets about transforming the lands he has conquered, but not all changes come easily. There are those who resist, those who would prefer to maintain the old order, and the challenge of unifying such a divided realm proves more difficult than he had anticipated. Yet, as the years pass, William begins to see the fruits of his labor. The kingdom slowly stabilizes, and the power he sought begins to feel less like an achievement and more like a burden. The crown, which once seemed like the ultimate goal, now feels heavier with every passing day. His enemies have been defeated, but there are new, subtler threats that have emerged. Despite the outward success, William often finds himself reflecting on the price of his ambition. The hunger for power that once drove him has faded, replaced by a quiet longing for peace. He begins to question whether his victory, though monumental, has brought him what he truly desires: fulfillment, connection, and purpose. The voices of those who supported him now seem distant, and he realizes that the very system he fought to create has become a cage. He may be king, but he is also trapped by the expectations of his position, the demands of his throne. In the quiet hours of the night, William walks through the castle's halls, the same halls that once seemed so grand, now seeming cold and hollow. The torches flicker along the walls, casting long shadows that stretch into the corners of the room. His footsteps echo in the silence, a reminder of the loneliness that can accompany even the greatest of victories. He wonders what the future holds, not just for him, but for the people he governs. The world he dreamed of building is now in his hands, but he finds that the true challenge is not in ruling, but in understanding the responsibility that comes with it. As the days turn into months and years, William's reign becomes a reflection of his inner struggles. The land is peaceful, the people are prospering, but the king is restless. He has achieved the power he once craved, but at what cost? In the stillness of the night, William begins to realize that true leadership is not just about power. It is about connection, about listening to those you rule, and understanding the needs of your people. He has won the kingdom, but the true battle now lies within himself, as he seeks to reconcile his ambition with the reality of what it means to be a leader. As the years unfold, the weight of the crown grows heavier, pressing down on William's shoulders with a silent but undeniable force. The grandeur of his victory, once a shining beacon of ambition, now feels like a distant memory. The celebrations, the cheers of the crowd, the triumphs of battle, all of that now seems like an echo in the halls of his castle. The people continue to look to him for leadership, but William can no longer ignore the quiet emptiness that fills his heart. He has achieved everything he set out to do, and yet a gnawing sense of dissatisfaction follows him wherever he goes. The once glorious castle, now a symbol of his rule, feels less like a home and more like a prison. The cold stone walls, once full of life and promise, now stand as silent witnesses to his inner turmoil. The grand tapestries that once adorned the halls, telling stories of his conquests, now hang like ghosts of the past. The throne, which once symbolized power and authority, now feels like a heavy weight, one that he cannot escape, no matter how far he walks through the endless corridors of the castle. He is still the king, but in the quiet moments, he wonders if he is anything more than a figurehead, trapped in a world of his own making. The council meetings that once stirred him with purpose now seem like a series of monotonous tasks, each decision blending into the next. The nobles, once eager to share their advice and strategies, now feel like distant figures, each more concerned with their own wealth and power than with the welfare of the people. William tries to push forward, trying to stay true to the vision he once had for his kingdom, but the questions in his mind grow louder with every passing day. Is this the life he truly wanted? Has his ambition led him to a place of fulfillment, or has it only left him longing for something he cannot name? The people still praise him, still sing songs of his victories, but William knows that the true test of his leadership lies not in the battles he has won, but in the lives he has touched, and in the quiet moments when he looks at his reflection in the still waters of the castle's pond. He sees a man who has achieved everything he once dreamed of, and yet still feels unfulfilled. The life he once imagined, full of power and glory, now seems incomplete. He has won the throne, but at what cost? As William walks through the castle grounds in the soft glow of dusk, he feels the weight of the years pressing on him. The sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the land. The world seems to hold its breath, as if waiting for something. William feels the passing of time more keenly now than ever before. The seasons shift, the people come and go, but he remains a ruler, a king, but also a man who feels disconnected from the very life he fought to. In the distance, the village that once seemed so far away now feels closer than ever. The simple life, the life of the peasant, seems almost like a dream he can never return to. Yet, in his heart, there is a longing for the simplicity of that life, a life where he was not bound by the weight of the crown or the responsibilities of kingship. He wonders if he had made the right choice, if the power and wealth he sought were worth the price of his peace. The realization dawns slowly, like the quiet light of dawn creeping over the horizon. True fulfillment is not found in the grandeur of palaces or the wealth of kingdoms. It is found in the simplicity of living, in the connection to those you love, in the peace that comes from within. And so, William finds himself standing at the edge of the castle, looking out over the land that is now his, but no longer his to control. He has built his empire, but he is unsure if it is what he truly wanted. The thoughts swirl in his mind, but the answer eludes him. There is no easy resolution, no simple answer to the questions that plague him. But as the wind stirs the leaves in the trees, he begins to realize that perhaps the answer is not to be found in the battles he fought, but in the quiet moments of reflection, in in the stillness of the world around him. Perhaps the true legacy he will leave behind is not in the empire he built, but in the lives he touched, in the peace he brought to his people. As the days pass into months and years, the questions that once seemed distant grow ever more urgent in William's mind. The crown, which once symbolized the pinnacle of achievement, now feels like a distant memory, an object of desire that has lost its luster. The grand castles, the vast lands, the armies, and the titles all seem to pale in comparison to the quiet moments of reflection that have come to dominate his thoughts. The victories he once celebrated now seem like fleeting moments in the passage of time, gone as quickly as they arrived. The world around him, full of power and riches, seems less meaningful than ever before. William begins to spend more time alone, walking the halls of his castle, where the once vibrant tapestries now feel like faded echoes of the past. The sounds of the court, the clinking of goblets, the murmur of advisors, the rustle of fine fabrics, seem distant, muffled, as though they belong to a life that no longer resonates with him. He moves through these spaces, but they no longer feel like home. His reflection in the polished mirrors and the still waters of the castle's pond shows a man who has achieved all he once dreamed of. Yet, he does not recognize the man staring back at him. The king is there, but so is a man searching for something deeper. One evening, as the sun sets and the first stars begin to twinkle in the sky, William walks out into the castle's garden. The air is cool, the fragrance of blooming flowers mixing with the scent of earth and fresh grass. It is a serene moment, far removed from the political games, the battles, and the power struggles that have defined his reign. Here, in the stillness of the garden, surrounded by the beauty of nature, William feels a deep yearning for something he has not yet discovered: peace. As he walks through the garden, the sound of his footsteps is soft against the gravel path. The flowers bloom brightly around him, their petals opening in the cool night air, and he finds himself drawn to the quiet, simple beauty of the natural world. He pauses before a small fountain, its water trickling gently, creating a soothing sound that fills the silence. In this moment, surrounded by the quiet hum of the night, William realizes that his entire life has been a quest for something that can never truly be controlled: time, peace, and fulfillment. The crown, the throne, the kingdom. These things had all seemed like the ultimate goals. But now, in the quiet of the garden, William understands that the real measure of his life will not be in the wealth he accumulated or the power he wielded. It will not be in the wars he fought or the lands he conquered. It will be in the lives he touched, the people he cared for, and the love and respect he earned from those who knew him. His legacy, he realizes, will not be etched in stone or written in the annals of history. It will live in the hearts and memories of the people he governed, in the quiet moments shared with his family and friends, and in the small acts of kindness that made up the fabric of his reign. In that realization, William feels a weight lifting from his shoulders. The quest for immortality, the hunger for more, that had driven him for so long, begins to fade. He understands now that true legacy is not about control or domination. It is about connection, about living a life that is meaningful to others, and about accepting the passage of time with grace. He has built a kingdom, but the kingdom of his heart, the relationships he has nurtured, the love he has given. This is the kingdom that will last. The sound of the wind in the trees whispers through the garden, a reminder that life, like the seasons, is constantly changing. William stands still, watching the stars above, feeling the quiet peace of the night settle over him. The life he has lived, with all its victories and losses, is now behind him. But the legacy he leaves is not in his conquests. It is in the wisdom he has gained, the lessons he has learned, and the peace he has finally found. The king, who once sought immortality through power, now understands that true immortality lies in living a life that leaves a positive imprint on the world around him. As the night deepens, William returns to the castle, no longer burdened by the weight of his crown. His heart is lighter, his mind at peace. He has learned that the world will continue to turn, and the legacy of kings and conquerors may fade with time, but the quiet moments of peace, love, and understanding will live on. With this newfound clarity, he steps forward, knowing that his journey has led him to a deeper truth than he had ever imagined. In the stillness of the castle, as the final embers of the fire die down and the night wraps the world in its cool embrace, William feels a quiet transformation settle over him. The worries that once plagued him, the burdens of leadership, the weight of his crown, seem lighter now, as though the very air in the castle has shifted. The walls, once oppressive and cold, now feel like gentle guardians of his thoughts, offering him space to breathe and to think. He has spent so much of his life striving for greatness, but in the quiet moments of reflection, he has come to realize that peace is not found in what one achieves, but in how one lives and in how one faces the passing of time. The castle, still and silent, seems to breathe with him. The echoes of his footsteps, once heavy with purpose and ambition, now feel softer, more measured. He moves through the halls, pausing before a window to gaze at the moonlit landscape beyond. The land he once fought so fiercely to control now feels like a friend, a companion on his journey. The fields below, the same fields he worked as a young boy, are now his to care for in a different way, not with a sword or with force, but with a gentle understanding, a willingness to let the land flourish in its own time. William steps outside, feeling the cool night air brush against his skin. The night is peaceful, the only sounds those of the wind and the distant call of an owl. The stars above seem to watch over him, their steady glow a reminder that time marches forward, regardless of the challenges or victories of any one man. As William stands there, looking up at the stars, he feels a sense of belonging to something much larger than himself. The weight of the crown, which once seemed so heavy, now feels insignificant in the face of the vastness of the night sky. The universe, with all its mystery and wonder, continues its eternal dance, and William is just one part of it. He breathes deeply, taking in the air, the smells of the earth, the quiet hum of life around him. In these simple moments, he finds the peace that he has been searching for, the pressures of his reign, the ambition that once consumed him, all fade into the background. He has come to understand that true peace comes not from control, but from acceptance. Acceptance of the world as it is, of the people around him, and of the fleeting nature of time itself. The struggles of his past seem distant now, like shadows in the night, fading as the morning sun rises. As he walks back into the castle, William feels a sense of closure. The journey that began with ambition and conquest has led him here, to a place of understanding and acceptance. The crown, once a symbol of power, now rests lightly upon his head, a reminder of the responsibilities he has carried, but no longer a weight. He no longer seeks immortality through war, wealth, or domination. Instead, he seeks to leave a legacy of peace, of wisdom, and of love, qualities that will endure long after the throne has passed to others. In the quiet of the castle, as he retires to his chambers, William feels a deep sense of gratitude. His life, though filled with trials and tribulations, has brought him to this point of realization. The world will continue, the seasons will change, and others will rise to take the reins of power. But William has found his peace, and as he drifts into a restful sleep, He knows that he has fulfilled his true purpose, not through the crown he wore, but through the love he gave and the life. As time continues to pass, William finds himself more and more at peace with the life he has built. The heavy burdens of kingship, the constant struggle for power, and the pursuit of personal ambition have all faded into the background, replaced by a quiet sense of purpose. The palace, once filled with the noise of politics, the sounds of war councils, and the weight of decisions that affected the entire kingdom, now feels different. The echoes of those times linger in the halls, but they no longer dominate his every thought. William spends his days quietly, observing the life of his kingdom from a distance, watching as the people go about their lives. Peasants working the fields, merchants selling their goods, children laughing in the streets. He takes solace in the simplicity of their existence, in the knowledge that, through his reign, he has provided them with the stability to live their lives with some degree of peace. His kingdom is thriving, not because of his power, but because of the steady hands of the people who work the land and raise their families. They are the true heart of the kingdom, and William has come to realize that his role, his true legacy, is not one of dominance, but of stewardship. There are still moments when the weight of leadership settles upon his shoulders, moments when he is reminded of the responsibility he bears. The occasional council meeting still takes place, but the decisions are no longer about grand power plays or strategies for conquest. Instead, William listens carefully to the needs of his people, the voices of those who are often overlooked, and he makes decisions that benefit the kingdom in quieter, more lasting ways. He builds schools, establishes laws that protect the vulnerable, and ensures that the land remains fertile and prosperous for generations to come. Even in the quiet moments, when the sun sets behind the hills and the world settles into night, William feels a sense of deep contentment. He knows that his power, the power he once craved so desperately, is no longer the driving force behind his actions. Instead, it is the well-being of his people, the legacy of a life lived with integrity, that defines him now. He has come to understand that leadership is not about control or wealth, but about the care and protection of those entrusted to him. His greatest accomplishment is not the kingdom he built, but the love and respect he has earned from the people who call him their king. In the quiet of his chambers, with the flickering light of candles casting soft shadows on the walls, William reflects on his life. The years of ambition, the battles won, and the sacrifices made. All of these fade into the background as he recalls the moments of kindness, the quiet exchanges with his people, the times when he simply listened. These are the moments that will live on in the memories of those he ruled, the legacy that will endure long after his death. As the seasons continue to change, William begins to understand that the true measure of a king is not the territory he conquers or the wealth he amasses, but the lives he touches, the people he serves, and the lasting peace he leaves behind. His reign, though marked by power, is ultimately defined by the peace he fosters within his kingdom. It is not a legacy built on the foundations of war and conquest, but on the quiet strength of empathy, understanding, and love for his people. One evening, as he gazes out over the land, the twilight sky painted with hues of orange and purple, William finds himself at peace. The journey that began with ambition and thirst for power has come full circle. His kingdom is strong, his people are thriving, and his legacy is secure. The crown, once heavy with the weight of his dreams, now feels light in his hands. For William has discovered the truest form of leadership, not in ruling with an iron fist, but in guiding with compassion and wisdom. And as he watches the sun set over the peaceful kingdom he has built, he knows that his reign, though fleeting in the grand scope of time, has left a mark that will endure. As the years pass, William's reign enters its later stages. The castle, once a symbol of his hard-fought victories, now stands as a testament to the stability and peace he has worked to establish. The halls, once echoing with the sounds of war councils and political scheming, are now quieter, filled with the voices of children and the laughter of his family. William no longer feels the need to prove himself. His ambition, once a fire that burned brightly and fiercely, has mellowed into a steady warmth that radiates throughout the land, touching every corner of the kingdom. He spends his days walking through the villages, talking to the people, peasants, traders, artisans and nobles alike. They greet him not with fear or awe, but with respect and gratitude, for they have known him as a king who understands their needs, who listens, and who has worked for their well-being. The farmers who once toiled under the heavy burden of taxes now find their lives easier, their work more fruitful. The craftsmen no longer struggle under the weight of their labor. The children play freely in the streets, no longer burdened by the uncertainty of the future. The kingdom flourishes not through the might of William's sword, but through the strength of his vision, a vision that is rooted in the well-being of the people. In these quiet moments, as he walks through the village paths, William begins to see his true legacy, not in the fields or the grand stone walls of the castle, but in the faces of the people around him. His true power has never been in the sword he once wielded or the title he claimed, but in the peace and prosperity that now fill his kingdom. As the land thrives, so too does the spirit of the people. It is the joy in their laughter, the contentment in their eyes, and the warmth in their greetings that bring him the greatest satisfaction. He often spends time by the river, watching the water flow gently by. The river, constant in its movement, serves as a metaphor for his own journey. Just as the river does not rush or force its way forward, but instead moves with purpose and grace, William has learned to lead with patience, to listen, and to allow things to unfold in their own time. There were moments in his earlier years when he believed that everything could be controlled, that power could be seized and held with an iron grip. Now he knows that true leadership comes from understanding the natural flow of life, from guiding rather than forcing, and from knowing when to step back and let things grow on their own. William reflects on the early years of his reign, when he fought with determination and fought for his kingdom with every ounce of his being. He remembers the times when his heart was filled with fire and his thoughts were consumed by ambition. He thinks of the many battles he fought, the enemies he conquered, and the power he accumulated. And now, in these later years, he realizes that the true cost of that ambition was not in the battles or the enemies, but in the relationships he neglected, the people he overlooked in his pursuit of power. The lessons he learned, the wisdom he gained over the years, have come not from his conquests, but from the quiet moments of reflection, the soft whispers of time passing, and the love of his people. At night, as the stars shine above the castle, William often finds himself standing at the balcony, looking out over the lands he once sought to conquer. The kingdom is peaceful now, the people content, and the land flourishing. But he knows that peace, like everything else, is fleeting. The cycle of time continues, and with it, the inevitable passage of life. The world will change, as it always has, and someday someone else will rise to take his place. But for now, in this moment, he is content. His reign may be temporary, his legacy uncertain in the grand scope of history, but he has lived a life of meaning, a life built on service, understanding, and care for those he ruled. And as he looks out at the horizon, with the moon casting its silver glow over the kingdom, William finds peace. He has learned that the greatest legacy a king can leave behind is not one of power or wealth, but one of compassion, respect, and the love of his people. The true measure of a ruler is not in the conquests he achieves, but in the lives he touches and the difference he makes in the hearts of those who follow him. And in the quiet stillness of the night, William feels a deep sense of fulfillment, a fulfillment that comes not from the crown on his head, but from the peace in his heart. As the years stretch into an enduring silence, William's reign continues, but now with a subtle, quiet grace. The once tumultuous fires of ambition that had burned so fiercely in his heart have long since cooled into embers, smouldering with the quiet wisdom of age. He has witnessed the rise and fall of others who, like him, once sought greatness, but who now have faded into the tapestry of history. Yet William's peace, born of reflection, of acceptance, and of quiet leadership, has remained. A legacy not of battle or conquest, but of gentle stewardship and service to his people. The castle, which once felt like a fortress of power, has become a place of quiet refuge. It is no longer a throne room of ambition, but a home filled with warmth and calm. The halls are no longer echoing with the sounds of war councils or political struggles. Instead, there is the soft murmur of conversation, the sounds of the children playing, and the steady hum of daily life. William finds solace in these quiet moments, in the simplicity of a life that has, at last, found its balance. The burdens that once seemed insurmountable now seem so distant, like shadows at dusk, slowly fading as the light of understanding washes. His mind is no longer preoccupied with the struggles of the throne. He watches his people from the castle, but no longer as a ruler eager to impose his will. He watches them with a sense of profound understanding, of deep connection, seeing in them the same desires and dreams that he once had. In the quiet of his heart, he is proud of the kingdom he has built, proud of the peace that reigns across the land. He has come to understand that true power is not in the control one exerts over others, but in the trust and loyalty of those who follow. And in that, he has found a peace that he could never have anticipated when he first set out on his journey. William's final days are not marked by grandeur or fanfare, but by quiet moments of reflection and gratitude. He no longer walks the castle halls with the same fire in his eyes. Instead, he walks with a peaceful, steady pace, as though every step carries the weight of his journey, but also the lightness of acceptance. The land is flourishing, the people are content, and he is at peace with the knowledge that he has done everything in his power to ensure their well-being. As the end draws near, William is surrounded by those he loves, his family, his closest friends, and the people who have stood by his side throughout the years. The sounds of the village, still vibrant and full of life, reach him even in his final moments. The world he once sought to change is now thriving, and in that he finds his greatest fulfillment. The quiet, unspoken legacy he leaves behind is not one of battles or riches, but one of care for others, of leading with integrity and love. On a quiet evening, under the same stars that had guided him in his youth, William lays down one last time. The wind rustles gently through the trees outside, and the flicker of candlelight is the only illumination in the room. The world, which once seemed so vast and overwhelming, now feels like a peaceful, familiar place. He has lived a life that mattered, not through conquest, but through compassion. He has built a kingdom, yes, but it is the lives of the people he touched, the simple acts of kindness, and the love he gave that will endure. As his final breath escapes him, the world remains steady, the cycle of time continuing as it always has. The castle will stand long after he is gone. The land will continue to flourish, and his people will continue to live in peace. William's legacy will not be in the throne he once sat upon, but in the love and respect he earned. the changes he made, and the kingdom he left behind. A kingdom of peace, compassion, and quiet strength.